Hello! So, overnight, Got Friends released an update to the Wilga in Microsoft Flight Simulator. If you've not seen the Wilga before, it might look like a bit of an ugly duckling, but it's actually one of the best small aircraft in the simulator. End of story. So it uses lots of the features of Flight Simulator, so it uses soft body modelling, it uses computational fluid dynamics. So the flight model is apparently very realistic according to real pilots of the Wilga that have played with the version in the simulator. The modelling of the engine is also very, very accurate apparently. So if we run the engine on realistic, it has a setting in the aircraft to run the engine in a realistic mode. You really do need to have read the pilot operating handbook to have half a chance of surviving for more than a few minutes without killing the engine. So we're going to go and jump inside the aircraft. We're not going to put it on fully realistic. We're just going to take it for a couple of circuits, or one circuit even, at Wycombe Air Park and see how we get on with flying it. So we've got a lovely day actually for flying. There's a bit of a stiff wind down the runway, but that should play into our hands a little bit for takeoff and landing. So you'll notice from the instruments there are many versions of the Wilga in the package. And this one in particular, I think this is the 80 model, 80, has the most Western looking instrument set. But it's also quite basic, which I like. Overhead, in common with lots of other Eastern European aircraft, you've got switches instead of breakers for the electrical kit. So okay, let's see what we need to do to get this aircraft up and running. So if we look down on the ground, we've got the fuel selector. So we go for the left tank. We can prime the engine a few times. You'll also notice we have just tucked under the co-pilot position, there's this clipboard. So you've got engine realism. I'm going to turn it off for today. And you've got some various things around the aircraft. So you've got a full set of bits and pieces that you can actually take outside, and you can play the guitar and mess around with the fishing rod, for example. We're not going to be doing that today. It's got pitot covers. The chocks are connected to the parking brake, so as soon as I release the parking brake, the chocks will be pulled away anyway. And you've got a refill for the starter air bottle. So turning the engine over is reliant on compressed air from this bottle, which we can release in a moment. Okay, so if we go and look overhead, let's see if we can remember what to do. So we get the battery switch on. We need to go and turn on some of the switches around the aircraft, so the oil, fuel pressure, the oil and air temperature. I think that's pretty much all we need immediately. Obviously we'll need the anti-collision light on, might have the navigation lights on, just to warn people we're about to start the aeroplane up. Okay, so then down in the cockpit we go fully rich on the mixture. We put the propeller condition all the way forwards, we turn the magnetos to both. We go and we've got pressure on the gas cylinder, and we should be able to crack the throttle open a little bit and start the engine. So we've got the cylinder head cooling here. We have to release the gust lock on the stick. We've got cylinder head cooling, so we're going to undo that, and oil cooler as well. So if we twist both of them anti-clockwise, you can see it opens up these vents in the front of the aeroplane. It's really cool, isn't it, how everything vibrates and moves around. So we've opened the vents, and then we can go back overhead and sort out the rest of the electrics. Now we've got the engine running, so generating can come on. The gyro, artificial horizon, turn indicator, radio, ADF, we don't need wipers, stall warning, don't need fuel pump. Pitot heat can come on now. Cockpit lights don't need. Sealing lamp don't need. Instrument lights don't need. Okay, we can put the ultraviolet lights on, I guess. So we'll just spin those round with the mouse wheel. Okay. So let's just increase this out to 1000 RPM. So I'm just looking at the little instrument down here and waiting for the temperatures to come up, basically. They're looking pretty good already, actually. Cylinder head temperature's creeping up. Oh, sorry, carb air temperature. Get it right eventually. So, having started the engine, we no longer need the gas bottle connected, so we can switch that off. I've just realised we didn't have the starter. Okay, if we'd been running the engine on realistic, it wouldn't have started. We should have had this engaged to allow sparking to happen, and then turned it back on, off again. So that's my bad. I'm not going to go back and redo the video over a small thing like that. But it's just, you know, one of the things I'd point out, if you're running it in realistic, you'd have to take note of that sort of thing. Magnetic compass, enable. We need to push the plunger in on the attitude indicator to have it working. We'll calibrate the altimeter now, so it should come up to about just over 500 feet at Wycombe Air Park, and it's done so. I think we're good to go. Okay, so I'm going to turn head tracking on now, and sense it up, get comfortable in my seat, pull off the parking brake, and we should start rolling straight away. And we'll go out to the flight line here at Wycombe Air Park. So there's a bit of an interesting pattern at Wycombe that you have to fly because of noise abatement areas. So we'll fly out runway heading to the fence, and then we turn left to 230 degrees. We'll climb out to 1500 feet, which will be 1000 feet over airfield elevation, and then follow the pattern basically. So it goes along the Hambledon Valley, then back towards Wycombe, and then turns back in. So let's open the engine up. So tail is up, aeroplane's moving around in the breeze a little bit, so we can easily hold it with the rudder, and then gently pull back, and we're in the air. So this plane just wants to fly. It's one of the major issues with it actually, is actually stopping it from climbing. So we fly out, straight line, hold the runway direction until we get to the airfield, the edge of the airfield, and then we turn left to 230 degrees. So just watching that compass in the middle there. So we continue our climb up while we're continuing 230 degrees. As we climb, we should start to see the Hambledon Valley over to our right. The airplane's pitching around a little bit in the breeze, just coming up to 1000 feet. See the valley over here now. So we turn a little bit left unintentionally, so we'll go back to 230, maintain our direction of travel, coming up to 1500 feet now. And come off the throttle a little bit. Okay, so we're 1500 feet. And notice what I said about the aeroplane wanting to climb. So there's the valley. So we're going to begin our right turn very, very soon. So there are various fields that local aviators will use as markers. So I'm going to begin our right turn now into the valley. We'll be looking to turn to 330 degrees. We're essentially heading for this collection of trees that look a bit like an elephant. Yeah, look, notice what I said, look, we've actually climbed 200 feet above where we should be now. So we're going to come off the throttle. So we're aiming kind of halfway between this mast and the main road, so we're looking for in line with the head of this elephant looking shape of the trees. So there's the 330 degrees. We're broadly in the right place. It's still high, so I'm trimming the nose down a little bit to get us back to 1500 feet. Okay, so we've got a couple more markers. There's a field with some poplars in it just down here, and once we get over the body of this copse of trees, we can begin our right turn to 60 degrees. There's the road, so we're looking to turn just before we get to the road, to be honest. is still high. Like I said earlier, I'm going to repeat it again, this aeroplane just wants to keep in the air. So we're coming around to 60 degrees, so we level out. You'll notice there is a bright field in the distance. It's on the corner of this road as it sweeps past, and there's a house on the top of the hill next to the road that we use as a visual point. It's West Wycombe House, and it's got a distinctive feature in the garden when we get there, but we'll turn right just as we get to it to avoid the main road. So we're looking now I've trimmed too far down. Look, and we're going downwind, so we've lost some lift, so we're actually having a job maintaining 1500 feet now. So I'm increasing the throttle gently. The one penalty of the Wilga being so small and so light is it does get kind of blown around like a paper dart. It's yeah, it is influenced greatly by the weather. So yeah, you can see now we've increased the speed and trimmed a bit, gone back above 1500. I'm not doing a great example of flying a pattern accurately today, I'm afraid. So we can see down here the house and the garden are just starting to come into view. And there they are. So there's this like hexagonal garden. So as soon as you can see it, you begin turning right. So we're looking to turn right to 150 degrees. Just avoiding flying over the top of the main road basically. And then as soon as we get round to 150 degrees, we begin our descent back down to 500 feet above ground level, which would be 1,000 feet for us. So we're flying towards the industrial estate. If we look off to our right, you can see the airfield over here. So when we get closer to the industrial estate and have descended a bit further, you can see at the moment, coming down to 1,300 feet, we'll be looking to finish our right turn at 1,000 feet. So we can begin the turn in over the edge of the industrial estate. We're a little bit high. There we go, one white and one red light on the VASI lights, and we're lining up pretty much in the right place, and the plane is being thrown all over the place. So we're going to start to push the flaps out, which may kick us above, so increasing throttle. That was a lot of turbulence, wasn't it? It's going to be even worse probably as we get closer. So we're just holding the VASI lights, or attempting to. I've got the turbulence on realistic by the way, so we've gone a little bit high. We're just dipping back down again. So less throttle. Again, this is just practice of not being exactly on. A little bit heavy, but almost three-pointed it. So there you go, the Wilga. It's a handful in these sort of windy conditions, even though they are, you know, in line with the runway. It's a real handful. So we'll put the flaps back up. Have a look at it from outside. It's great fun though, it really is. It's a proper, you know, hands and feet, throttle and stick and pedals kind of aeroplane. Okay, let's taxi back in. Yeah, it looks amazing, doesn't it? It's very, very, very nicely modelled. Of course, we're taxiing with the wind, which is almost blowing us along back down the field. This is the Pilot Plus version of Wycombe Air Park, by the way. It's probably one of my favourite airfields in the simulator, not just because I live nearby, but because it's just very good on frame rate, it's very good on detail at the same time. They seem to have hit a really nice balance with it. Okay, let's slow down and taxi in. Let's sit up in our seat so we can see where we're going. Yeah, I've always liked the Wilga. I don't fly it anywhere near often enough, and obviously the more you fly it, the better you get at flying it. And then of course as soon as you turn on the realism with the engine, it's a different animal again. We're just going to double back if we can avoid the coach here. It's about to try and drive into us. Park next to this. Okay, parking brake on. Pull the mixture back. So the sound you can hear is probably going to be the gyro. So we can go and turn all of the electrics back off. Oh, we need to turn off the ultraviolet as well. If you see this thing in the dark, it really is something special because it has these ultraviolet lamps. Turn the magnetos off. Close the vents on the engine. Landing lights were never on. That can come back off. That can come back off. I think we're more or less there. Or we can put the gust lock back in. But yeah, it's... oh, we can close the fuel selector, obviously. Notice there's a little bug here. It shows left and right in the middle. That disappears when you have the aircraft powered up. It's really, really odd. Anyway, so we're going to reopen the door, let some fresh air in. But isn't it great? Great little aeroplane, and obviously we can, it's got no clipping at the edge, so you can move around outside the aeroplane quite easily. So there you go, that's the Wilga. So I really should fly it more often. I'm really pleased that it continues to receive updates, so it's it just gets better and better every time I come back to it. Anyway, I think that's all for today, and I'll see you again soon.